Hello everyone, I am Renowned Zero, and today we're going to be talking about the original God of War director, David Scott Jaffe, saying widespread panning of Forspoken was driven by a-holes who clearly don't like women, black people, or PlayStation. So, here's the thing. This man was responding to Bounding in the Comics, saying, hey, Bounding in the Comics, if you gave a crap about journalism and ethics, you would be ashamed of it. I never said that. Did I say and imply that some of the criticism of the game is built on these things? Yup. To say it was driven by them and the main group majority of people who are paying the game, though, please provide cite to evidence, or please hire an editor who at the least worked in the high school newspaper website so they can introduce you to the basics of your job. I refuse to believe that the wide dislike of Forspoken is based on anything but bigotry. Goodness, you just effing lie and don't care. Well, whatever, hoping at least a few reviewers recognize your tactics and walk away from your product. The problem is, the receipts present themselves. As we're going to show you the receipts in this article, as you want the evidence, bro, it's in this article. You clearly didn't read the article if you're asking to cite evidence that you don't want to see. Let's jump right into it. Original God of War director David Scott Jaffe says widespread panning of Forspoken driven by a-holes who clearly don't like women, black people, or PlayStation. Well, PlayStation to me is shit. I thought the PlayStation 4 was no multiplayer games. PlayStation 5 is having the same problem. No multiplayer games. In his latest embarrassing attempt at signaling his virtue to his fellow adherents of critical identity theory, original God of War director David Scott Jaffe has declared that he will be buying Square Enix's widely panned Forspoken solely out of spite towards the a-holes who clearly don't like women, black people, or PlayStation that he believes are responsible for the game's poor reputation. Now I have to say that in the tweet, it says, the other part is I want to buy to spite the a-holes who clearly don't like women, black people, PlayStation. Once again, the receipts present themselves, bro. But he said he's inches away, and part of it is that, and part of it is this. Well, let's go back up and read. Released by Square Enix on January 25th, Forspoken centers on the story of Frey, a young New York City native who, upon being transported to the magical world of Athia and discovering that she possesses the ability to wield magic, must team up with a sentient Cuff to free her new surroundings from the oppressive rule of a group known as the Tantas in order to find her way home. Yet despite being developed by the team behind Final Fantasy XV and featuring a story penned by Gary Whitta, which Rogue One was garbage, Amy Hennig, she's good, Alison Reimer, Freeform Shadowhunters, and Todd Stashwick, Forspoken has managed to miss the mark by nearly every metric. And it's not just regular players who have been taken aback by the game's 7th console generation level graphics, unsatisfying combat, and MCU on several different steroid style of dialogue, as even legacy media reviewers couldn't delude themselves into enjoying the game's ironically detached personality. Per review aggregator Metacritic, the PlayStation 5 release of Forspoken currently holds an average score of 68 out of 100 across 66 reviews, with even such notoriously slanted sites as GameSpot, Inverse, and even The Gamer unable to give the game more than a middling grade. It's not fun, it's not engaging, it looks terrible. Summarized Forbes' Eric Kane of the game's poor reception. So yeah, sorry to burst your bubble, but a 68 out of 100 score feels too high. Emphasis Kane's for this game. Offering his 2 cents on the situation after taking notice of the negative attention the game was receiving in the days leading up to its launch, Jaffe took to his personal Twitter account on January 23rd to opine. I have no strong opinion on Forspoken at the moment. Played the demo, enjoyed it, but not looking to drop $70 on it. So originally he wasn't even planning on getting the game because the demo, he enjoyed it, but he didn't want to drop $70, as really no one should nowadays, but it is what it is. I'm not telling anyone how to spend their money. Anyway, the pile on has me thinking of this, and how I've gotten older, I've realized there is no bad creative output. He added, like, ever. This had bad creative output. This game was terrible. Looks terrible, runs terrible, is terrible. In support of his argument, Jaffe shared a brief bit of gameplay footage from his previously developed Drawn to Death, explaining that though the game was my biggest failure critically and commercially, and reviews said it was juvenile, and it probably was, its in-game announcer was one of my favorite parts. But after encountering further negative criticism of Forspoken and ostensibly realizing that his somewhat favorable read of the game was an unpopular opinion, Jaffe began to take the discourse personally. Finding himself at a breaking point, Jaffe returned to Twitter later that evening to conversely declare, "I'm interested from pulling the trigger on Forspoken at $70. Part of it is the good stuff I'm hearing from people who are playing it, and the fact I did enjoy the demo. The other part is I want to buy it. It's to spite the a-holes who clearly don't like women, black people at PlayStation." So you wanted receipts. Sorry, excuse me. You wanted receipts presented. Here's one receipt right here. Your second receipt is down here. Eventually forced to face the fact that the game was not just being rejected by his strawman perception of gamers, but also his ideological allies, Jaffe attempted to save face by backpedaling. Quote, "To be clear, the tropes about black folks in Forspoken are S. They were called out over a year ago and Square did nothing, which is their right, of course. They shouldn't have to change their game for woke Western crackheads like you. Okay? They can make whatever game they want and you can choose to support it. If they were called out for such tropes and you really cared that much, you wouldn't have supported this game. But I'm talking about the players who are being dicks for no clear reason, so I assume it's ism, console war, and misogyny. So you made an assumption as to why people didn't like this game, rather than thinking maybe the gameplay sucks, maybe the graphics suck, maybe the story sucks. It's the same bullshit argument from these same people always claiming racism and misogyny and bigotry as to why people don't like a game, bro. It's always the same stupid argument. It's played out and it's old. But they'll continue to say it because that's all they have to try to essentially put a bad label on you. Failing to win over anyone with his doubling down, Jaffe would attempt to further disingenuously distance himself from his initial rhetoric by turning his nose upward and asserting, "Learn to read human beings. I said one of the reasons I'm buying Forspoken is to spite people for whom there be an ist, Saj, console wars are motivating factors in slamming it." So, you said present receipts, my guy? Here's your receipts. Tweet number 1, tweet number 2. You probably didn't read the article, which is probably why you're saying present evidence. Because you probably didn't see it in the first place. You old bitch. If someone plays it and hates it for other reasons they can articulate, fine by me, he concluded that's fair. That's what most people are griping about with this garbage game. That it looks like shit, it plays like shit, its dialogue is cringe. Nothing to do with the fact that the character's black. That's actually something Polygon was griping about, that the game didn't talk about it, the character's blackness enough in the game as part of their review. So before you go and criticize actual players who aren't fake gamers like these journalists from Polygon and Kotaku, why don't you go look at them and figure out that they're the ones that don't like the fact that it doesn't talk about the race of the character. If the game is good, no one should care about what the race is of the character. Clearly the game is not good, which is why they had to focus specifically on that, because that's literally all these gaming journalists and you, people like you, have. Is you always want to play this BS race card. My guy, people like the character of Chains from Payday, and he was black. He was dope as shit. Are you serious? I mean, come on. Even the guy who voices Kratos is a black guy, and people like his voice for Kratos. So much so that he won an award this past Game Awards. I mean, are you serious? There have been plenty of games with black characters in them that have been good. Just because people didn't like this terrible game that Square Enix put out doesn't mean it was because of the reasons that you think. Thank you all for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button if you did like the video. Comment below what you feel about all this. Subscribe for more content. Hit the bell for notifications and set it to all. That way you get notifications anytime I post a new video. And I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.